It's August 30th, 2016, and you know what that means. No, other one. Yeah, that one. Actually, it's not even close to August 30th, 2016. It's in fact like a couple of weeks at least later. Depends on when I got around to finishing this. Come on, editor Matt, this is voice actor Matt. You need to get back to work. But for some reason, releasing the same day as World of Warcraft Legion, arguably one of the largest releases in many years, is Otherland. How can I describe this game in a way that makes sense? Oh, I know. It's bad. Like, violently terrible. Otherland is an MMORPG based on the novel series of the same name written back in the early 90s and early 2000s by a guy named Tad Williams. You know, back when everybody thought that the internet would be like full dive virtual reality or some shit. Which, by the way, I maintain would be a terrible idea. Who wants to walk to their web pages? I mean, I specifically use the internet to exert less actual effort when I do things, like ordering stuff, or buying a pizza, or like trying to get a job. You want my biggest argument for not having a virtual reality internet like that? Just imagine walking around in Second Life. I imagine the floor would be sticky. But I guess this isn't my vision of the future, this is Tad Williams. And Tad Williams' vision of the future went into development as a full-blown MMORPG way back in 2008, slated for a 2012 release date. It is 2016. Otherland did just go into open beta, so it's not what we call a finished product yet, but it is also selling Founders Packs, so I believe we can go full bore on this sucker. But I've yammered on enough, let's get this show on the road. This is, probably not gonna turn out well. So we are thrown right into character creation, and this user interface is making me envy the blind. Our race options seem to be humans, weird yellow humans, and simuloids. And it looks like the humans and weird yellow humans are locked, so I get to be a simuloid, which resembles something from an old Canadian concerned children's advertisers thing.
I am Ashtar, a robot from Planet Danger.
Yeah, us Canadians are a little bit, weird up here, sorry. And then we jump into the 4 classes we get to choose. Warrior, Assassin, Ranger, or Energizer. Well, based on the testimonial of a couple of ex-girlfriends, it would be intellectually dishonest for me to assume I can go on and on and on. Therefore, Ranger. Cause, you know, melee combat is for chumps. But with that, it's time for me and Blue Reboot character Cletus to dive into Otherland. I am immediately confused. By the way, I didn't actually drop out the music there. There is just like no music during this tutorial part, except for like 1 or 2 spots. So we're immediately greeted by this guy named Sellars, and he says that we are in the Otherland network, and that he teleported us here in quite a barbaric manner, and that we might have some memory loss. Thanks for the brain damage, asshole. But apparently he needs our help because reasons, so, you know, chosen one, I got it. Also, the sound effects are probably the most obnoxious fucking thing I've ever heard. It's lovely, it's not sci-fi sounding garbage at all. Maybe it's just because there's no music, it just sounds a little bit worse to my ears, because, you know, let's go somewhere with some music. I mean, theoretically, it could be worse. I guess it's time I go into the graphics, because, I mean, this game kind of makes me want to rip out my own eyes. The game's got some good style, like there's a lot of really cool looking things in this game, but there's a lot of weirdness with the graphics engine that just has me, Everything's just kind of muddy. There's a lot of muddy textures. You've got this weird anti-aliasing that makes everything not 10 feet away from you look blurry and indistinct. It's just kind of gross looking. Which kind of sucks, because there are some generally cool-looking things here, but they're kind of ruined by an engine that is not doing good. I don't know if it's just me or what's wrong, but every time I looked around, everything just kind of looked crappy. Let's see if I can fix it in the settings. Oh no. So Sellar sends us to this orphanage, I guess, and tells us that there are other simuloids that we need to find. So we run into the first one, who's named Sweetie Cheng, and then there's another one named Crit You in the Face. I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. Passing through the next door lands us in an Egyptian tomb? Must have been a bitchin' fucking orphanage to spring for an Egyptian tomb, like right in the orphanage. Some spoiled, rotten fucking orphans. In the middle of this tomb are a bunch of what appear to be main characters. Blink twice if they just couldn't afford animations for you guys. And also there are monsters that we get to fight, so let's bust out some of that stylish action combat they were talking about. Sadly, though, this is a Steam description of lies! So at best, I would describe the combat as mediocre, and at worst, I would describe it as clunky to the point of brokenness. To get a good feel of how combat feels without actually, going through the 15 or 16 gigabyte download that is Otherland, just download one of those crappy free-to-play shooter games on your mobile phone, either your iPhone or your Android, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure it's free, and maybe it has modern in the title. Now, cover your phone in hot glue and mustard. That is how Otherland's combat feels. But don't actually do that. That would be stupid. You are still essentially auto-attacking enemies, but they decided to remove the auto because this needs to be action combat, and apparently that qualifies! This is kind of reinforced by the fact that you have a couple of abilities, but they're generally on long cooldowns or have a charge-up period. So this results in fights that are generally spent standing across the room from your enemy holding down the left mouse button until one of you falls over. It's almost as if this is why MMOs adopted auto-attack! Now you can explain that away as I wasn't deep enough into the game to have all of the abilities unlocked, and you might be right there. But at the same time, I had a full bar of available abilities, all 8 of them, and the 2 specials on each of my 3 weapons, which is conceivably the maximum amount of abilities you can be using at a time, and I was still running into this problem of standing there, holding down my mouse button and shooting at dudes. Which leads me to the worst part of this entire system. Above its clunkiness and impreciseness, above its general terrible feel, there is something terrible that this system does. You see, the only way to regenerate your health effectively is through an ability called Recuperate. You can also use med packs, but they have a long cooldown, so you wind up using Recuperate between fights. Now, Recuperate will give you maybe a fifth of your health back, but its cooldown is twice its duration. Meaning, if you want to heal yourself back to full after a particularly trying fight, you wind up standing around for a minute and a half, waiting for cooldowns to come off of your Recuperate ability so you can regenerate. And you might have to do this 5 times. And thus we come to the stupidest decision I've ever seen in an MMORPG ever, causing your downtime between fights to be so long that enemies respawn. This actually lines up to the reason why I stopped playing, because I hit a point where I was recuperating for so long because there were enemies who were shooting me through the fucking ceiling that enemies would respawn and I could not conceivably complete the quest. That was a little bit ranty, I'm sorry, but I do not enjoy this game's combat, which sucks because it makes up 99% of the game. So after this, we're given a whole lot of awkward scene transitions, which I think are supposed to outline what happens in the books, but I'm not 100% sure because I didn't read the books, because books? We're spat out into the world finally. Finally, we can begin exploring, and we immediately get kidnapped by a Harley Quinn knockoff. But don't worry, we don't remain in captivity for long, because shortly thereafter, this happens. I am not sure if I just witnessed the worst thing or the best thing in gaming ever. I didn't add that music, by the way. That music is from the game. I'm not even sure if they licensed it. It might be getting copyright flagged as we speak. Who knows? I think that might be my favorite part in this entire game. Not just so far, just period. Because after this wonderful moment of perfect clarity, we are plunged back down into going from quest hub to quest hub, engaging in our clunky combat system to kill the same friggin' enemies over and over again. And I think that might be Otherland's problem. Everything in this game feels half-assed. From combat to story to everything. The graphics engine just looks muddy and gross. The only thing it really does well is style, and even that is marred by so many problems. I mean, there are a lot of other features that I haven't even really brought up because they're either just too mediocre to care about, like crafting, or something I didn't really see the point in engaging in, like your own little housing stuff. Even in the free-to-play space, there are a lot of games that feel orders of magnitude better than Otherland, and had maybe a third of the development time. This game has been in development for 8 years. But there might be a reason why everything about Otherland seems so half-ass. In the year 2012, when Otherland was originally slated for a release, the company Real U and its parent company DTP Entertainment went bankrupt. They went under, which is really unfortunate, It wasn't until 2014 that another company called Drago Entertainment took over the game's development, and 2 years later, here we are. Otherland, in that case, is more of a tragedy than it is a malicious attempt to extort money. Then again, it still could be a malicious attempt to extort money from what is essentially just a chunk of assets left over from the company's collapse, but we don't really know that. At the moment, though, Otherland is not a game worth money. It's not even a game worth time. It's just not good. It's fails on so many levels. I feel for the fans of the franchise, the fans of the books, who may have been really excited to see this MMORPG come to life, because it really feels like it was just shoved out the door. And that sucks. That always sucks. But who knows, perhaps they can make it up to you with the Otherland movie that is also apparently coming eventually. Which is kind of a weird business move, because I have no idea how it could possibly be any better than this. Oh geez, you watched this video, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video on Otherland. It's not a very good game, you should not play it. In case you didn't get that from my ranting. Thank you very much though for watching this video. This has been kind of a test of my new camera and sound setup, so there's like a bunch of different stuff going on here. Tell me if you like it. I don't know if I have to tweak some stuff with the new microphone that I use with my camera, but we'll have to find out what happens. There's definitely a lapel mic, and you can see it, and I don't even care. But thank you very much for watching for a third time. If you did enjoy this video, please do like and subscribe. It's a huge support to the channel. And go out there into the real world, not the other land, and have a great one.
Yes, you can see my lapel mic. Yes, you can. It's right there. You can see it with your eyes. You can see my lapel mic. I don't know why I'm impressed by the fact that I now own a lapel mic. Like, I don't even know if it sounds good. We'll find out.